Welcome to the RadioU Podcast. Coming up, how many teams is too many to participate in the World Cup?
Also, Vin Diesel says Marvel is planning to make a Groot movie.
All that and more on the way next. Ali, yesterday, I don't know if you saw this, the Powerpuff Girls trailer leaked. The Powerpuff Girls that was supposed to be on the CW. Uh-huh. Did you watch it?
I just watched the trailer this morning, and I am not happy.
Yeah, that would have been a very big mistake if they had put that out. The Powerpuff Girls, I didn't know it was this long ago, but I do vaguely remember this. The CW was working on a live-action Powerpuff Girls series. It was supposed to come back in, supposed to be premiering or whatever in 2021. For whatever reason, they scrapped that. Mm-hmm. They never wound up airing any of it, even releasing this trailer until now. And the idea is it takes the Powerpuff Girls, the beloved Cartoon Network cartoon from what, the 90s, 2000s?
Yeah, somewhere on there.
And it takes those Powerpuff Girls that are like young girls that are also superheroes, and it makes it as if they grew up, is what happens in the live action Powerpuff Girls, what would have been in the series.
Yeah.
They all start having problems. One of them has a drinking problem. Very just questionable. Questionable
yes.
Why. I could see a world in which that could be a fun idea, but you can tell from this trailer, this would have been a bad idea.
Oh, yeah.
Based off of the trailer, no matter when it came out, but you can also really tell how our sensibilities have changed just in the last 4 or 5 years.
Oh, absolutely. Watching it, and I did not know the history of that. This was supposed to be released in 2021.
Yeah.
I thought this was like we're getting a leak for something that's coming later.
Oh, no.
And
This is not happening.
Yeah, thank goodness. Because, as you said, when you're watching it, you're definitely like, okay, yeah, there's a lot of things being said in this trailer that feels very much like it's from a different era.
Yeah, it would not, the stuff like, there's like whitewashing quotes and stuff like that just would not fly or not play the same way.
The jokes,
today.
Yeah, the jokes
even
just
as they would in 2021.
Right.
And they may not have been good then.
They probably wouldn't have been. But yeah, the jokes they're just like very much, they're trying to be Deadpoolish and like almost, commentating on everything.
Yeah, but then also like a girl aspect to it.
Right. Yeah, like girl boss, and we're making a social commentary. And it's like, this social commentary is dumb. Please stop.
Nobody asked Powerpuff Girls to make social commentary.
No. So, and it would have ruined my childhood. I loved Powerpuff Girls growing up, and to see them as like, weird grown-up women that are now having issues with alcohol and, anxiety and all of this stuff. It's like, no, stop.
Gender norms.
Yeah, like this is not what we want.
And all that is questionable. Nothing is more questionable than how they took Mojo Jojo.
Oh, yeah.
The monkey where you can see his brain. And instead made him Mojo and Jojo, which is a father and son that are just people.
Yeah.
And that's a villain in the show.
That's the villain in the show. And they show you that Mojo, whose dad, dies. And so it's like later, they're all grown up now. So Jojo's the villain. It's so weird. Yeah. I was just like, yeah, thank goodness this was never released.
The only thing I could have gotten behind was that I don't even know the guy's name. The other guy from Scrubs, guy from the T-Mobile commercial. It's not Zach Braff. What's his name?
That's a good question.
It definitely should be even on here, and I don't see it. Why is that? What's his name? Why didn't I prepare this?
I don't
know. He would have been fine as the dad of the Powerpuff Girls.
Is it Donald?
Sure.
Donald Faison?
Faison, maybe?
Yeah,
sure.
I'm not sure how to pronounce his name.
All right.
I feel bad. He is in a lot of things and a very, iconic face.
Yeah.
You know who it is, but you don't know who it is.
And you see him, very early on in the trailer. You're like, okay, maybe. And then the rest of the trailer happens.
It just falls apart after.
Yeah. So I guess it's safe to say the CW and all of us dodged a bullet with this one.
Yes.
They were right to scrap it.
Right. I'm glad that they did. Like I said, when I first watched that trailer, I had no idea that this was a scrapped show. I thought this was actually coming out. And I'm like, why is this so bad?
Not a chance. And it's not one of those trailers where it leaks and it's like, oh, man, I wish.
Right.
What could have been?
Right.
What could have been would have been bad. Sally, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm in my new deodorant era. I bought a new stick yesterday.
Okay.
And there's something that I noticed in shopping for deodorant.
Okay.
One is that it's altogether too expensive. Like everybody's freaking out about eggs, but where's all the freak out about deodorant? Because it's ridiculous. It's like $6 for like the cheapest thing.
Yeah. Deodorant has been going up in price probably for the past few years, I feel like.
At least deodorant lasts a little longer. And in
That's
fact,
true.
that brings me to my next point. I think I could start stretching out my deodorant and getting more of my money's worth, because so many of the deodorants say that they offer 72-hour protection.
I don't believe it.
I mean, why would they lie? What's even the point of lying about that?
I just think that their standard or whatever they're doing these tests on to say that it like lasts for 72 hours is not the standard that I live by.
Yeah.
The standard that I live by is that I want to smell good all the time.
Yeah. And so they're saying once every 72 hours, put on the deodorant, you'll smell good.
Yeah, no,
That's what they claim.
I don't buy that. So I put it on like at least twice a day.
I loved perusing the deodorant aisle and first of all noticing that none will dare say more than 72 hours. Nobody wants to go to like 80, 96 would be another entire day, but they don't do that. 72 is either the most they're comfortable saying or the most our technology has advanced to be able to allow for.
That's the limit.
But 72 hours is crazy because who puts on deodorant once every 72 hours? Even if you're like, well, I'll just leave this on, like I'll just apply deodorant. You have to shower once every 3 days at least.
I would hope so.
And that washes it out. So sure, maybe it does offer protection for 72 hours. But how are we supposed to find out? Because we washed it out and have to start over.
Right.
I don't know why they all say that. It's not even like I look at that and go, wow, this stuff must be really good. 72 hours. Imagine what it'll do for the 8 I actually wear it before I reapply.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't put that claim to the test. I'm not willing to wait it out that long. I need to put it on at least twice a day.
That must be
sometimes even more.
That must be why they do the 72 hours.
Why?
Because they know
no one will
that
test
is
it.
Long enough to sound impressive and too long for anybody to actually test that out.
Yeah.
But if I ever only put on deodorant once every 72 hours, that probably means I've had a crisis in life and I may not be leaving the house very often.
Right. Yeah, you might be in a bad mental state.
I think I have bigger problems than deodorant, if that's what it comes to.
True. I think we were all living that way in COVID.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe the 72-hour thing goes back to COVID.
Right.
They're like, you barely have to put this stuff on. Why even bother, actually? Just give us the $6. You're not going to need it. I don't understand that.
No.
But without fail, the whole aisle says it.
Yeah.
Like it's some kind of thing that we would care about.
Well, SpaceX unfortunately had another disaster on their hands. This happened yesterday as they launched SpaceX Starship, which is a spacecraft, and unfortunately, it exploded.
Ooh. Was this one of their planned disruption, whatever they call it? They have the special term for when they make it explode because something goes wrong?
Nope, this was not
just
not planned.
Spontaneous.
Yeah.
All right. Nobody was on it, though.
No,
Okay.
An uncrewed mission. This was something where they were doing a test flight for this SpaceX Starship, and this is Flight 8, I believe. So this is the 8th test that they've done for this specific spacecraft, and basically less than 10 minutes into the flight, the Starship craft, which had continued on to space after it's separated from the heavy booster that kind of helps get it up into space. After it split from there, maybe about 8 minutes after that, it lost all contact with the SpaceX and their headquarters. And then some of the Raptor engines went out. It lost altitude control, started spinning.
Oh,
and then
sounds exciting.
Yeah, well, it's just as it slowly loses altitude, it just starts spinning because it's falling.
Right.
And so, and then at that point, it did explode towards the top, which caused it looks scary when you watch the footage because it's just like balls of fire coming down
Somebody
from the sky.
from the Bahamas getting like live video of this, And I mean, odds are, if you're just filming this, you don't know what's going on.
Right. You have
and you've
no
heard all
idea.
these scary plane stories and stuff as of late.
Yeah.
But knowing what it is, it's cool to see.
Yeah. So it was, it fell into most of like Florida area because it was launched in Florida. But this is kind of unfortunate for SpaceX because they actually did have this happen with Flight 7 for this same spacecraft. And it was over Turks and Caicos that it ended up exploding and falling. They were able to, it didn't injure anybody. They were able to collect most of the debris, I believe. And none of it is like toxic material, so it's not going to harm any wildlife or water or anything like that. But yeah, still an unfortunate circumstance.
I'm sensing a pattern here.
Yeah, it pushes them back for sure on this this plan for this mission and what they're trying to get done with it. But they have kept saying, and this is what makes me believe that they're really kind of starting from scratch with this thing, is they've kept saying like there's too many question marks with this spacecraft. And so it just seems like with every test there's new flaws that are coming up. And I mean, when you have an explosion, of course, there's flaws.
Some fatal flaws, to say the least.
Potentially fatal. Again, an uncrewed mission. But they're going through their due diligence. They don't want to put people on something that could end up exploding. So, it seems like this is just going to be something that's going to take a while for them to get right.
Isn't it crazy? Like, SpaceX is just a company.
Yeah.
Like they need to make a profit to make money.
Right.
How can this when will this ever be profitable?
Good question.
You think about how much money they must have spent to shoot this thing out on a very expensive firework is what this is.
Yeah. They were able to catch the booster though. So they are able to reuse those.
So that's one good thing.
That's something that SpaceX invented. The idea of being able to catch a booster and reuse it. It doesn't just fall into the ocean and then it's gone.
Yeah.
You can collect it, but you can't really. All you're doing is like trying to reuse some of the material. But yeah, they were able to catch it in what they call the Mechzilla, which looks like the big chopstick thing. So they were able to catch that.
Which doesn't sound like something a supervillain would have or anything.
Sure, no. But I mean, that in and of itself is a good feat and a great thing.
I don't know much about space, but that's impressive.
It's very impressive. That's the third successful time that they've been able to do that. So there was some success in the mission and then also some not great things.
Yeah, some very obvious not great things.
Yeah.
Well, if you saw an explosion and that maybe, I don't know if Nikki saw this.
Right.
Well, maybe we could ask her. But that's what this was. SpaceX blown up. Get your popcorn ready. It's our Friday tradition here on Radio U, the weekend watch list, letting you know which movies are new that you could be watching in theaters and in some cases at home, although no major new streaming releases this weekend. We do have, however, the highly anticipated Mickey 17, now in theaters, starring Robert Pattinson. A disposable employee is sent on a human expedition to colonize the ice world Niflheim. That's not really important. It's an ice world. After one iteration dies, a new body is regenerated with most of his memories intact. It's it's Robert Pattinson from Bong Joon-ho, who did the Parasite.
Yeah, I was like, Parasite?
I don't know why I couldn't think of it. Yeah. It has an 81% on Rotten Tomatoes. However, Kyle Smith from the Wall Street Journal says, even an audience expecting very little would be underwhelmed by this meandering, snowy dud, which, for all of its extravagance at a reported $120 million budget, combines insipid messaging with witless comedy and a weak plot.
Oh, no.
I know.
Well, what did you say the score was overall?
81%.
Okay, but this guy really hated it.
Kyle Smith from the Wall Street Journal, who typically I trust.
Okay.
I trust Kyle Smith, one of my favorite critics, but he was not a fan.
Are you planning on watching this?
I think I will go see it.
Yeah.
But do you have a concern? Because I think this is it Bong Joon-ho? Yeah. Bong Joon-ho. It's his first movie since Parasite, which won the Oscar. This is highly anticipated.
Right.
Do you think that part of the reason the scores could be so high is because you're going into it, you're just excited as a critic or whatever.
You're kind of expecting it to be good already.
Yeah, you just want it to be good.
Because of the name tied to it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
I'm a little worried about that
and
now.
the concept of it. It's like high concept, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it just already gets your expectations pretty high because it's like, wow, this is something we really haven't seen before. A concept not really covered the whole idea of like regeneration. I mean, it's been covered, but not in this way. So so it's a very interesting plot.
But the trailer looked good.
Yes.
The names attached to it look good. So I am interested in seeing this.
Yeah.
But maybe you're not. And maybe you want something else. Maybe you want Queen of the Ring now in theaters. The story of Mildred Burke, the champion professional wrestler. That's not what you were expecting, was it? Who pioneered the sport at a time when all-girl wrestling was banned in most of America.
Okay.
I didn't know they banned it.
I didn't either.
It has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes. However, Adam Graham of the Detroit News says Queen of the Ring doesn't measure up. It plays like a soap opera given the ESPN Classic treatment. Fine for a career overview, but not quite ready for a title shot. And people, at least Adam Graham, not as into
You're just reading
Queen
all
of
the
Ring.
negative reviews today.
This is what comes up. This is what comes up.
This isn't this can't be the consensus
from,
though.
like,
If the
noted-
score is that high.
No, but people that give from noted publications that actually give that have a worthwhile little snippet here is what I read. So,
Okay, I mean, okay, but clearly some people liked it.
yes, 73% of them did, but not Adam Graham.
Nope.
But honestly, even if this was 100%, would you go see Queen of the Ring?
No, doesn't fit
Starring
what
nobody that's particularly familiar.
I thought for a second it might be the Sydney Sweeney movie that's coming out about wrestling.
No, I don't think that's this one. It's starring Emily Bett Rickards, best known, it seems, for when she was in Arrow, the CW show.
Oh, yeah, that's not a big star at all.
No, not really. Well, but you know what? Not a movie, but Daredevil, Born Again. The first 2 episodes are now on Disney Plus. I've watched one. I need to watch the other. That's what I will report back with on Monday during the box office breakdown.
I will report back on Love is Blind.
All right. 8772 Radio U. Let us know what you're seeing this weekend. That's your weekend watch list. And we'll see you at the movies. Allie, I have 2 headlines about the World Cup. Which one raises your eyebrows more? 1, the World Cup, FIFA is considering expanding the 2030 World Cup to 64 teams. Headline 2, the FIFA president has teased that Drake could perform at the halftime show of the World Cup. I believe that would be the next one that's coming up in the U.S. and Canada, Mexico.
So 2026.
2026, yes, next year.
Yeah, I'm not interested in the Drake thing.
You don't want to, that would be a huge step up in the beef between him and Kendrick Lamar.
I mean, maybe. The World Cup really hasn't done a whole lot with like the whole like performance stuff. So that would be kind of new for them.
Yeah, I feel, and people are for some reason excited about it. I think just because of the drama, but I don't think that would be a good soccer thing to do.
No, I mean it'd be
As
very
an
different.
avid soccer fan,
right?
And an avid Drake hater, I would not. That's a combo of 2 things I want no part of. Okay, so then what about the World Cup expanding to 64 teams in 2030? How do we feel about this?
That's interesting. So when I first saw that, I was like, wait, what? But it is something that they would just do as a one-off because it would be celebrating a certain milestone. I'm not even sure what it would be in 2030.
The 100-year anniversary of the very first World Cup.
Gotcha. So yeah, they want to celebrate that, commemorate that by adding in the 64 teams. They already are expanding. If you didn't know this, they've had 32 teams. They're moving that to I think 48 now, which will start in 2026. So next year for the World Cup that's in Canada, Mexico, and here in the U.S. So we're already going to get a lot more teams and a lot more games.
Right.
But yeah, I think that would be a great idea for the celebration to just allow more fans into it, allow more countries an opportunity to participate. As a child that grew up in Africa, my dreams were often dashed. Because there are very few qualifiers for African teams and nations to make it into the World Cup.
Right.
It's literally statistically impossible to make it, almost.
Yeah, there's a lot of countries in Africa and only a few make it in.
Only 4.
And then they usually don't do particularly well either.
I mean, in some years they do better than others. I think of the year in South Africa, Ghana made it to the Final Four. I don't know, semifinals, whatever you want to say. But so some years they're better than others, but it's just that pool has been limited.
Yeah.
Mainly they focus on the teams from Europe, the teams from South America, that they get a lot more in, which traditionally they are the better soccer teams.
Yeah.
So I understand why they get more. But as a fan of, African football, I would be appreciative of them allowing more of those teams to make it in.
I think, and part of me thinks this would be fun, especially as a one-off to expand it.
Yeah.
And I'd say, why stop at 64? It's the 100-year anniversary. Just make it 100.
Make it
just
100.
make it an even. Actually, just let every country in. But I'm thinking like, my first thought was, though, realistically, like, why are we even expanding it now? There's only like 6 or 8 countries that can actually win. It's never like a big shocker of an upset where it's not like I don't know. I don't even know what sport. Baseball, all the teams that get in the playoffs, you never know who actually is going to win. In the World Cup, you almost know one of the 6 teams. You could, if you gave me 6 teams, I could pick you. One of those will win the World Cup.
Yeah, you're like Germany, Brazil.
Yeah.
It's going to be one of those guys.
Not England. It will never be England again. But so, like, why expand it? But then again, the NCAA tournament's coming up. There's 68 teams that make it into that. Realistically, only 10, maybe at most, have a chance of actually winning. But it's still a lot of fun. The difference is, in soccer, it takes so long. Like, the World Cup is actually so long, even with 32 teams.
Right.
And they all play each other 3 times, in the group stage or whatever. If it's a one-off, like, as in, like, single elimination to get it started or something, and before the group stage to whittle it down, but you include that in the World Cup instead of including it in qualifying like they normally do.
Right.
I think that could be fun.
Yeah, and in qualifying, they also have that round robin thing where they do the groups. Which
I know is more fair.
Yes.
But it also takes forever.
It does. Qualifying for the World Cup starts like 2 years before the World Cup.
Yeah.
And believe me, I went through some agonizing years of that, watching my Zambia team get so close to the World Cup year after year and never making it.
Yeah.
Because of all the stupid qualifying hoops that the African teams have to go through. So, yeah, and here I am looking at the CONCACAF, and I'm like, why do they get 4 teams or however many teams they got in? Jamaica is not better than the African teams. I'm sorry, but yeah. So I am in full support of them adding to 48 and then going to this special 64 for the 100-year anniversary of the World Cup. I think it'll be fun.
Just for once.
And you add more teams, more fans, more eyeballs on the World Cup. It'll be great.
I feel
Get
like
more of the world involved.
Yeah, it is the World Cup after all. It's not the Europe Cup. That's different. We're going to need your verdict on this one at 8772 Radio U. We have a 19-year-old University of Connecticut student suing her former high school, Hartford Public High School in Hartford, Connecticut, that she graduated from last June. She's suing them for negligent infliction of emotional distress, claiming that she graduated with honors but does not know how to read or write.
What?
Yeah.
What?
She accuses the school of neglecting her education, claiming she can barely hold a pencil in her hand, and her reading abilities are comparable to that of a first grader. Here's the backstory. Alicia Ortiz was born in Puerto Rico, moved to the United States at the age of 5. She claims her school and the special teacher appointed to her case were of little help all the way until a month before graduation, when they finally conducted the additional testing that she had been asking for and realized she was virtually illiterate like a month before graduation of high school. The school district officials, this is according to her, told her that she could defer accepting the graduation diploma in exchange for intensive services, but she refused. The quote from her is, "I decided they had 12 years. Now it's my time." She went on to graduate with honors, even though, again, she was, according to her, virtually illiterate. However, you may be wondering, well, how the heck did she get a scholarship into University of Connecticut then? She says that she used modern apps, smartphone apps, to translate text to speech and speech to text, and even used them to fill out the college application and write the required essay. However, back in last month, she decided to drop out or at least take a break from classes at University of Connecticut to focus on her mental health. And of course, because if she wasn't able to read and write, probably be very stressful trying to go through college classes. And so now she is suing her high school that she graduated from and hopes that it will let the leaders of that school be held accountable. It does not say exactly what she, like money-wise, what she is trying to get here.
Okay. Yeah, this is a very strange story.
An unusual case, to say the least.
I do not know how you can graduate with honors being illiterate.
8772 Radio U. What's the verdict? Should she win this lawsuit against her high school where she graduated with honors while being illiterate, according to her? Or is that on you, Chief? 8772 Radio U. I'm really interested to hear what people have to say on this one. Allie, we've got some good responses coming in.
Okay.
We'll start with Regina, who says, this is a weird one. I also wonder how in the world she was able to graduate with honors. Did they make it so easy that she could get through? Or did she cheat her whole way through? What if this is one of those schools that only prioritizes how they look in test scores over the actual students? I'm apt to lean towards the school being held accountable, though. I think she also has but I do think she also has a responsibility here. That's Regina.
Yeah.
I think that sums it up pretty nicely.
Yeah, I think it's a valid answer.
Megan says she had 12 years to speak up, and they even offered her extra help before graduation, so that's on her too.
Yeah, that's what I'm struggling with. Were you this entire time using these supplemental things that she talks about, these apps, and you kind of fooled them almost, because if you're submitting work to them, if you're submitting essays to them that seem well written and well thought out,
right? And they're just spoken words.
Right. There's no reason why they would think there's something wrong. So it's like you almost played yourself a little bit by making it like you should have done horrible work. And then they would have been like, yep, there is a problem. We need to address this.
Yeah. Carlos says, this is on the school and the system. Pushing kids through to meet quotas helps no one, except the school, I suppose. And then let me get to Aurora. Aurora says, I have no idea, as I have so many questions. But good on her for managing through high school despite being illiterate. She's clearly a very smart girl.
That's the thing that I get from her too, is I'm like, clearly she is very smart and also has a lot of drive to be able to, make it through this, even though she was handicapped the whole time by being illiterate and not being able to read and write.
Here's what I'm thinking.
What?
What if she's too smart?
Oh.
What if she's so smart? Because here's what I'm thinking. How can you prove you don't know something?
Yeah, that's hard to prove.
If they give her a test that's like, let's test your literacy. If she is literate, she could be like, well, I don't know. And,
just
fail the test, intentionally fail the test. So how can we actually really know?
Yep.
And it seems that she's managed all this way through. And so I'm wondering if
that might be the issue with the lawsuit.
Yeah.
I would imagine a judge would ask the same question. How can we prove that you truly are illiterate?
Yeah. So I don't know. I just don't know if she can. It's not that I don't have a fairly easy time believing that the school maybe very well did fail her.
Yeah.
But I also just don't know how in this situation, particularly, we can know for sure.
Yeah.
You made it all the way to the University of Connecticut.
Right.
So
that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah. That's a lot to ask of text-to-speech apps.
Yes.
Or vice versa.
Right. Without people catching on, because we also know that, like, especially if you're using something like ChatGPT or something like that, they have systems in place now to catch when people use that stuff. So I would imagine, they would have caught on somewhere around along the line. But we also do know that kids fall through the cracks sometimes in these schools.
Yeah. I think if I'm the judge, I think I'm going to just have to throw this case out. Case dismissed. Allie, do you believe this? Vin Diesel recently posted out on Instagram. The quote is, Disney wants their Planet X, which some say is Marvel's most anticipated movie. Haha. The film where Groot returns to his home planet. First of all, why does that sound almost like Donald Trump? Why is that phrase like a Donald Trump? Yeah. Which some say. That's what gets me. Which some say is Marvel's most anticipated movie.
Who wrote this?
Yeah.
You or ChatGPT?
Seriously. But do you believe that there's actually any talk of a Groot spin-off movie?
I believe so. And the reason I believe that is because I think Marvel's grasping at straws right now. I mean, unfortunately, the Captain America film didn't do as well as what they were hoping. The reception wasn't as good as they were hoping. And so I do believe that they might be looking into something like this because Groot's a lovable character, very beloved in the Guardians of the Galaxy, movies. And so, yeah, I think they're trying to play on that nostalgia and try and, make fans come back and make them feel good once again. I don't really know how you could make a Groot film work, considering all he says is, I am Groot.
Yeah.
But if you surround him with some good characters, maybe you could, like, Guardians of the Galaxy does that. But it obviously isn't really about Groot in those films. So to focus more on him, I don't really know how it would work, but I also don't think that Marvel wouldn't be looking at this.
Particularly not if there's no Rocket involved.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Bradley Cooper is particularly excited about doing more Rocket stuff.
Okay.
I feel like he would like to move on. So I don't know. I mean, you could be right. It could be real. I also wouldn't be surprised if Vin Diesel is lying to try to make something happen because he wants this to happen.
We've seen celebrities do that before.
And if anybody would do it, it would be Vin Diesel to me. I totally believe that he just throw this complete nonsense out there and just be like, but people will say they want it.
Right.
And then Marvel will feel forced, then Marvel will be like, oh, we should do it. So
a lot of Marvel's current phase right now, I will let you know, because I do follow a few people that follow all the Hollywood stuff. A lot of their films are being canceled or switched around to different stuff. So a lot of the stuff that they revealed at the last big conferences that they've had for comic books and for Disney, a lot of that stuff isn't happening anymore.
Yeah.
And they're restructuring, refiguring things out. So I do think they're in kind of a phase of all right, what do we do? But do I think a Groot movie is a part of that? I'm not convinced.
Making a Groot movie would be the moment that the MCU is over. That it's absolutely
it's
cooked.
We have no other ideas.
Yeah. That's like adding Snoop Dogg to your whatever your thing is.
Yeah.
When you add Snoop Dogg, you've run out of ideas.
It's falling apart.
Yeah, you're just he would say yes, and so you get Snoop Dogg involved, and that's the sign that you're done. So
what you're saying is we're going to get a Groot movie with Snoop Dogg in it.
Yes, that will be
that will signal the end.
That is the signal of the end. On the menu today is not just one mint ice cream concoction, but in fact two. We have the brand new Thin Mint Frosty from Wendy's, and we're pitting it up against McDonald's Shamrock Shake that comes out every year around this time to see which of the minty fast food ice cream concoctions is superior.
I am so excited for this. I have not tried the Shamrock Shake yet. I've not tried the Thin Mint Frosty yet. But I must say, especially the Thin Mint Frosty is looking real good right now.
Do you think that the Thin Mint Frosty has an unfair advantage because it includes chocolate?
Possibly, because I definitely probably like the chocolate more than the peppermint. I just like chocolate more than mint. But also, I feel like it's looking more, here, I'll just show it. It's looking more like almost like a sundae, just from the look.
Yeah, just because they loaded it up with that syrup.
Yeah, but when you do smell it, you can smell the mint.
So I think this is just a regular chocolate Frosty, and the syrup is what makes it a Thin Mint Frosty. So which would you like to try first? Since I've never had the Thin Mint Frosty either, but I usually get a Shamrock Shake at least once a year.
Nice. Since we set high expectations for this Thin Mint, let's try the let's try the Shamrock Shake first.
Save the
potential best for last. We don't know.
Yeah, we won't know.
We don't know.
I do know the Shamrock Shake every year. I feel like I like it, but then I don't normally order it more than once. It's thick.
It's thick, but it's subtle. I like that it's subtle. It's not in your face with the peppermint. I like that. It's
very comparable to the mint Oreo if you pull it apart and just eat the mint cream inside.
Yeah.
Very light. It's sweet, but it's very light, a lighter mint flavor. It's not too intense.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Very refreshing. If you're on a warm day and needed a nice little milkshake or something.
Yeah.
Very nice.
And that goes through usually St. Patrick's Day, which is a week from now. So you're running out of time to enjoy that. The Thin Mint Frosty should be around a little longer, I would think.
I have no idea how long
until Wendy's switches to their new seasonal Frosty whenever they're doing that.
We don't know. We've heard speculation, but we don't know.
McDonald's is going to have a lot to compete with here because this smells really good.
It does smell super good. It smelled good before I even took the lid off.
Is there don't tell me there's chunks of
There's
mint.
chunks of chocolate.
Okay. All right. Sorry, McDonald's. I don't even need to taste this. We don't need to go any further.
Just off of looks alone.
Yeah. If there's
You go
chunks of
first.
thin mint in here.
You go first. I think this must be the precursor to what we were talking about last week. How they're gonna do those like frosty
Mix-ins,
fusions and freestyle or whatever, where you can add stuff in like caramel and strawberry and brownie batter. Like, you can't tell me I won't be doing that.
It has the thin mint, like it has a crunch to it. Mm-hmm. Oh, and that's nice. That is
almost
nice.
like Oreo crunched up into a McFlurry.
Yeah, this is. I mean, honestly, based off of that one bite alone, I don't know how my ratio was, but like it didn't taste all that crazy different from a chocolate Frosty, except that it has the little crunch added, the
and
thin
a
mint.
tiny bit of mint.
Yeah. So
But
if
I
you like a
actually
regular
like it.
chocolate Frosty, this is like that, but just a little better.
I need a napkin. This is dripping all over the place.
Here you go.
I'm like,
I don't know if that's a McDonald's napkin or a Wendy's napkin.
oh
but-
no, blasphemy.
Yeah.
We're using the wrong napkins.
So which one is better?
Here's the thing. I feel like it's hard to judge because there's such different things.
They're not as similar as I expected.
Yeah, like one is a milkshake and one is obviously not.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Frosties, I know some people do drink them.
Yeah.
One is meant to be, drank. Yeah.
Drunk.
Drunk.
Yeah.
And one is not. And so I feel like the Thin Mint would be more comparable to like a McFlurry than this milkshake, which is the Shamrock Shake.
They do have a Shamrock McFlurry too with Oreos.
Oh, really?
So did we do this all wrong? Should I have gotten that?
Go back.
Yeah.
Go
I'll
back,
have to make another run to McDonald's. You know what though? Like I like both of them. I really do like both of them.
Yeah, they're both good. They're just different. Yeah.
And I will say we've had a lot of different, since Wendy's has started doing different Frosties. This is one of the better ones just overall that they've done.
Oh, yeah. That's delicious. I'm probably going to finish the whole thing.
All right. Well, this food fight gets a 2 thumbs up. One for each restaurant, McDonald's and Wendy's. It's Radio U. Allie, let's acknowledge, if money is no object, you're picking a local pizza chain, any random local pizza place over a chain.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Typically, right?
Yes. If money was no object.
If money is no object. But also being realistic, a lot of times money is an object. An object that is very important. And so a lot of times you would go with a pizza chain.
Yes.
Which pizza chain would you most often choose? Between, what is there, like really big four, Little Caesars, Domino's, Pizza Hut, and Papa John's? I would consider the big four.
Yeah, for me.
The Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, okay. For me, I usually go for Donato's or Pizza Hut. Mm-hmm. Those are the two I usually go for a chain.
And why do we go with Pizza Hut?
Well, I typically like their stuffed crust pizza. And
Bingo. Why for our entire lives was Pizza Hut the only place that really had stuffed crust? I never understood that.
I don't know, but a lot of places do it now.
Yeah, including Domino's. Domino's, for the first time ever, has just introduced their own stuffed crust pizza.
This is wild to me. This would have been game-changing in college.
Yeah, right? Especially because I'm looking at the price and it's pretty cheap.
Oh, yeah.
You can get a pretty good deal on this. And they unveiled the new Parmesan. They're very specific. It's not just stuffed crust. Parmesan stuffed crust.
Oh,
which is interesting because I don't picture Parmesan as being so melty.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that works in a crust, but maybe that means they dust it with Parmesan and it's still stuffed with something else.
Yeah. Sounds a little bit like Papa John's idea.
But it is definitely available. And I didn't know this either. We're in the midst of National Stuffed Crust Week, so it's just fitting that they would unveil this now. Yeah.
I might have to try this out. I usually don't go for Domino's that much. I definitely ate it a lot in college because it was cheaper than everything else.
Yeah.
Other than like Little Caesars, but it was nearby. It was cheaper. And so I would eat Domino's a lot. I like their thin crust though, and their Brooklyn toast.
I certainly don't think Domino's is the best tasting pizza out of the four.
No.
But price per taste, I do, because Pizza Hut is a little more expensive, and then Papa John's is a little more expensive than that.
And Donato's is like the most expensive.
Yeah. If you're lucky enough to have Donato's, which is very good.
It's so good.
But it does run more on the expensive end. And Little Caesars, I see Nene getting Little Caesars all the time. And listen, I don't refuse Little Caesars, but in my neighborhood, the only one we don't have is Pizza Hut. Domino's and Little Caesars are across the street from each other, and I would never choose Little Caesars and always choose Domino's.
Little Caesars in the moment might feel like an okay decision, but afterwards I always have regret.
And they just did their first stuffed crust pizza recently, and I tried that because I was like, it's cheaper, and how bad can it be? Kind of bad for stuffed crust.
It makes
worse
me
than you
sick.
expect.
It makes me sick to eat Little Caesars. As much as I hate to say that, because I would love to be able to buy cheap pizza and be okay with it, but I can't.
Yeah. So Little Caesars, sorry Little Caesar, but what are the odds? Because I think it's almost a guarantee that I'm getting stuffed crust from Domino's tonight.
Okay.
I need to know. I need to know. But what are the odds that you get it too?
I don't know. I have been craving pizza lately, but I'm not sure if I'm going to actually eat out tonight or like order in or whatever. I don't know, but I might have to give this a try. I also don't know if there's Domino's near where I live. Because again, all I've ordered is like Pizza Hut and Donato's, so I'm not sure.
Tonight's the night to find out.
Maybe.
To get in on that Domino's stuffed crust action. Netflix made headlines back in November when we had Mike Tyson and Jake Paul fight live on Netflix. A lot of people got to see that. A lot of people got to see buffering. But it was a huge event. Huge event. And so Netflix has just now announced their follow-up, their exciting the sequel. What are they going to do next with live boxing? They've announced their next match.
Okay.
It's coming up on Friday, July 11th. It's Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor.
I have no idea who those people are.
Well, if you tuned in for the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight, you might remember that this was these two fought before.
They were in the undercard.
Yeah, they were the fight directly before Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, and it was actually a really good fight.
Okay.
It was a controversial decision that wound up with I don't even remember who won at this point, but it was controversial.
Okay.
Because it was whoever won shouldn't have.
Gotcha.
So I guess
so this is the rematch.
Yeah, they'll be able to settle the score coming up from Madison Square Garden this July, live on Netflix. And it's not just Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, of course. It's going to be an all-women's card.
Oh, wow.
Even more women boxing.
This reminds me of a joke I heard yesterday on John Crist's new special he just put on YouTube, where he's like, people ask you like, oh, are you for equality? Yeah, we're for equality. Do you want these WNBA tickets? Nah. That's kind of how I feel about this.
Yeah, I feel like this is just not going to generate. And you know what's sad is, like I said, this fight, I remember watching it. I don't remember who won, but it was a much better fight than the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight.
I mean, it sounds like it was.
And
at least it was more competitive.
Yeah. There was more action, and you didn't know who was going to win until the very end. It was Taylor who won, by the way.
Okay.
Katie Taylor. The Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight looked forward to for weeks.
Right.
Everybody,
Lots
so
of
many people
build-up.
made a point to watch it. Will I make a point to watch this? Probably not. But I don't know. If you have a Netflix subscription already, what are you doing on a Friday night? Like, this could be. I still might wind up watching it. I still might wind up watching it. I like fights.
To me, I'm not that into boxing. I know I've shared that before when we've talked about these matches. So I definitely feel like I probably won't watch women beating each other up.
Yeah.
I'm not interested. I mean, even for the big fights like Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, I very rarely watch those.
Yeah.
So,
What I've discovered as I watch UFC and a bit of boxing is that, shockingly, possibly, that is the sport I'm most likely to watch women participating in.
Really?
The women UFC is actually, I mean, is it just as exciting as the men? No, but the fights are fun. The fights are fun to watch.
To me, the side that I enjoy, that I feel like the women's side of the game that I like more is tennis.
That's a good one too.
I love women's tennis.
I think that's a good second place for me.
Yeah.
But I don't even watch men's tennis. So this shows you probably how much women's tennis I watch. But I know some of the names.
Okay.
Iga Swiatek or whatever.
Yep.
She dominates.
She is amazing.
Yeah, don't bet against her at the French Open. Thanks for listening to The Hudson Show. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast.